Finally, there's been an update from the Democratic Alliance with their fight against the Expropriation Act. But is it really something to get excited about? That's what we're going to talk about in this episode, so let's get into it.
My wife, she get it. Yeah.
Did I hear that correctly? Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Newsflash. I'm your host, Joe Emilio. Thanks for tuning in. The DA Federal Council Chairperson Helen Zille announces DA legal action to challenge the Expropriation Act. The DA will oppose the act to the bitter end, as we believe the act undermines constitutional principles and opens the door to power abuse by taking people's property away without compensation. The DA is committed to defending property rights and will fight this in court to protect all South Africans. Hold that thought, because I want to show you something. I'm going to play the video that they put out, and we're going to watch it together. And then we're going to get into what the DA actually filed.
I've just completed commissioning court papers to challenge the Expropriation Act in court. The DA is fundamentally opposed to the Act in principle, and we have been since 2018, because of the fact that it opens the door to power abuse in taking people's property away without compensation in an open-ended way, which is entirely contrary to what we believe the principles of the Constitution are, and certainly opposed to the DA's policies and principles.
Now, that all sounds great. I don't think there's anything wrong with what she said, but there's something very interesting here. Apparently, the DA Expropriation Act challenge doesn't tackle nil compensation, only final mandates and Section 1.
What?
See, now this is what worries me, right? The DA making it out like they're filing it in now, they're going to take it to courts and all that stuff, but they're not even tackling the most important part of the act. But yet they say that they're defending property rights, and they will keep on defending property rights. The DA Federal Council Chairperson Helen Zille filed an application in the Western Cape High Court to challenge the Expropriation Act. In the court papers filed last Friday and seen by News 24, Zille argues that Parliament passed the act contrary to Section 65(2) of the Constitution and the Mandating Procedures of Provinces Act 52 of 2008, the Mandating Act. In her affidavit, she argued that 4 of the 7 provincial delegations that voted in favor of the expropriation bill in the National Council of Provinces had no authority to do so. Curiously, in the court application, the DA is not challenging the nil compensation provision in the act. I know, it's weird, like probably the most important part of the act that should be argued, that should be tackled. For some reason, the DA is not going to try and fight that in court. Here's what Zille had to say as to why. Zille suggested to News 24 on Monday that it would have been more difficult to prove the unconstitutionality of the section than the case her party is pursuing. When you take a court case to challenge an act, you go for the simplest, cleanest cut method. The process point is so strong and clear and easy to argue. And if we can get the act thrown out on this basis, then we go for the path of least resistance, she said. We remain unequivocally opposed to the substance of the act, but that is a more complex route to take. The rule of court challenge is take the shortest route to your destination. Yeah, I don't know. That sounds like a very weak excuse as to why they didn't challenge the nil compensation in the act. I mean, they could have tried at least, right? I know that there's other civil organizations that are going to probably fight the nil compensation part of the Expropriation Act, but it would have been great for the DA to join that fight. Or maybe the DA wants the civil society to tackle it on their own, and the DA comes in at another angle. I don't know. I recently did a live stream with Martin van Staden from the Free Market Foundation, Mark Oppenheimer, as you all know him as the great advocate, and Theo de Jager, who is the chairman at SAI. In this stream, we discuss ways of stopping expropriation without compensation, or the act itself. And during this conversation, Mark Oppenheimer made an interesting point about how the DA is playing this. I encourage you all to watch it. But after hearing this news, I reached out to Martin van Staden from the Free Market Foundation to get his view on all of this. Here's what he had to say.
People often don't realize the difference between winning the case and winning the fight. And this is a relatively normal phenomenon that the DA is also now fallen victim to, simply because if the DA does win the case that they have launched, the ANC and their partners can very simply just readopt the exact same act, and they can do that within sooner than 3 months, really, to do a quick public participation process, follow all the parliamentary procedures, and adopt the act again in exactly the same form that it was adopted. So at most, and this is not useless, there is some use to having a delay. So at most, the DA could buy a delay. But ultimately, what I think liberals and conservatives should want to achieve with challenging the act is the nil compensation provision, because that is really what makes the act very clearly and on its face unconstitutional. And if you have a court judgment that says the Constitution requires compensation, you cannot have a law that says you don't have to pay compensation, then the ANC would never be able to readopt that act again. So yes, I think it's good that the DA is challenging it, even if it's a very narrow challenge. But this does mean that other parties also have to join the litigation and make these substantive points in addition to the DA's procedural points.
And there you go. Martin makes a good point. Why not just tackle the bull by the horn right away?
Straight up.
This could be just kicking the can down the road, which the DA seems to be doing quite often these days. Anyways, while I do welcome this filing of papers, and hopefully we'll hear a date soon, and it's great that the DA is fighting on some level, I'm putting my money with civil society groups such as Free Market Foundation. The Free Market Foundation is one of many civil society groups who are going to fight against the Expropriation Act, and it is for this reason that I strongly encourage everybody watching this to please go to the link in the description and support the Free Market Foundation. At the moment, they've got a challenge called the 1 million Rand Challenge. For any donation they receive, an anonymous donor will match that donation by 50%. So if you donate 500 Rand, that anonymous donor will top that up with another 250. They're doing this challenge throughout the month of Feb, and these funds are used to protect our freedoms and liberties, and that includes the fight against the Expropriation Act. Right now, I don't have a lot of faith in politicians. I think civil society is going to do a far better job of fighting the Expropriation Act. And there's many civil society groups that you can support, not just Free Market Foundation, but also SAI, Sokaliga, AfriForum, and so on. So, as I've said before, ladies and gentlemen, I will keep an eye on the story as it develops. We'll see when the DA gets their court date and whether or not they are successful at kicking the can down the road. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, ladies and gentlemen. And while you're there, don't forget to leave a like on this video, share it far and wide, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I've got more content coming your way. And with all that being said, thanks for watching. Your newsflash is in.
Let's go, Wade. Let's go, buddy. Let's go, Wade. Come on, Wade.
На расслабоне прям. Вообще изи катка. Просто изи. Давай. Пару рывков. Давай.
He's just chilling, bro. He was trying, Wayne.